Hi, Everetts Watercolors here. Welcome to my studio. And today I'm broadcasting live to YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and later on Twitch, and later on Instagram. In my studio today with my wife Gloria.
Hello, everyone.
And she'll be monitoring the broadcast and also the chat room. The chat room is live, so you can have a comment or a question, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And even after the program on the replay, you can look at the video and also make comments in the video section below on comments. Okay, well today I'm going to do a painting, and it's going to be a winter scene. It was cold here on the East Coast. I know most places where I am it is cold. So I'm going to put a little bit of snow on the ground and get in the mood. So let me take you over to my painting table. Let me get started. Okay, this is my reference photograph. It's got a snow scene. I really like the birch trees. I like birch trees. They're one of my favorite trees. The birch trees. And in the background I got the little blue sky. And you can notice here the blue sky in the background. I got a little mountain range here. A little bit of snow way off in the background. And I got this foreground snow with some shadows. So today I'm going to show you how to paint that scene, and also how to paint birch trees. And I think you'll enjoy the techniques I'm going to use. Okay, let me put that aside. What I did now is I took that photograph and I did a quick little sketch here. And this is my design sketch. And you can see here I've got the dark area is the background, which is that low mountain range. I'm going to make the sky a little darker than the trees. The trees are going to be the lightest value. The trees are going to be white with their design on it, but they're going to be the lighter value. The sky is going to be a little bit darker. The snow is going to have a little bit of value to it, a little bit lighter, a little darker than the trees. And of course we got the foreground here with the shadow pattern. So that's I'll bring it up closer so you can see it. That is my design sketch for the painting today. And put that aside. Okay, then I transferred that design into my watercolor paper, and this is a quarter sheet of Gemini watercolor paper, 140-pound cold press, and it measures 12 inches wide, 11 inches wide, and 15 inches long. I'm going to have it in a portrait format. Over here on my palette, I also did a quick little bit of value study, a little bit of color study here. And what I did was I'm going to use cerulean blue up here. I'm going to use cerulean blue and cobalt blue up in the sky. Use that color. For the mountain range, I'm going to use a multicolor. I'm going to mix a little bit of the ultramarine blue, some burnt sienna, a little bit of Payne's gray, maybe even some greens, Hooker's green, a little bit, maybe a little alizarin crimson. I'll get a nice dark mix here for the mountain range. And then for the snow that's in the middle ground there, way in the back behind the trees, is going to be a light gray mixture. And then down here is the trees and so forth. We'll go over the technique here on the trees when I get to that. Okay, so that's kind of my painting sketch. Put that aside here. All right, so I'm going to wet up the palette here. Put a little water on the palette, and I'm going to start out with the sky. I'm going to start out with a little bit of cerulean blue, and I'm going to work wet on dry. I have to leave the paper dry today and just paint right over top of that, because I want to separate the trees from the sky, so I don't want to have it running into the tree mix. So there's a cobalt blue mixed in a little bit of cerulean blue, so a little bit darker. Maybe pick up maybe a little bit ultramarine. Because the top of the sky is a little bit darker than the bottom, so I'll have a little darker value at the top. So now my tools here, I'm using this is a 1-inch Holbein flat brush, and it's a 1-incher. So I'm going to start over here on the left side. I'm going to start putting the mix on the green up in the sky. So I'm working on wet on dry. So the paper is dry, but I'm putting in the paint on top of that. So I'm going to start over here with the darker value at the top. Now I'm going to pick a little bit of cerulean now, As I come down, I'm going to get a little bit lighter, a little bit water in the brush. And I come down to a little lighter at the bottom of the sky, just a little bit. A little more water in the brush. Overlap that mountain, that hill there a little bit. That won't hurt anything. Yeah, I'm going to pick up some more of that color. Now I'm going to go in between the trees now. And what I just did, I covered up part of my tree here. So let me pull that out here. I'm going to pull that out. So I covered that tree, so I'm going to come in here and pick it up. So if you, I painted that over, so I just take a little tissue and pick it right up. That way we'll keep on moving. All right, now I'm going to go back in here and put a little bit of sky in between these limbs here. Okay, so I can use the flat brush to cover this area. Now here's it going between the trees. Now here's another area of sky. Make sure I don't paint over the tree trunks this time. Okay, let's try that. Coming down here. So I thought I'm starting this out. I thought I'd put the sky in first around these trees. The trees are lighter, so I'll leave those alone. And we'll come back later and put those in. Now I go down, as I come down toward the horizon area, I get a little bit lighter, so I'll put a little bit of water on my brush now and kind of lighten up the value, just a little bit. Trying to keep the atmospheric perspective here a little dark at the top and lighter at the bottom. Okay, I'll come over here now and we'll get this other section in. Start at the top. Darker blue color at the top. As I come down, get a little bit lighter. Now I'll pick up a little bit of that cerulean blue. Add a little more water to that. I'm going into the palette, I'm changing the colors. I go over and pick up a little bit of different color or a little bit of cerulean and add a little bit of water to this mix right here. And coming right on down and covering, going over top a little bit of that mountain in the background. It's going to be darker anyway. Okay, then the last section of the sky is over here. I'll get some more cobalt up here in the top. Come on down. This is the last section of the sky. And I'll pick up a little bit of cerulean as I come down. A little bit of cerulean blue, and a little bit of more water in the brush. A little bit lighter. Okay. All right. So that's the sky. Now let me. What I'm going to do is let me dry that now with the blower, air blower, and I'll pick up my excess moisture off my painting board here. Let's go ahead and we'll dry this up now. We'll put the air dryer on it. And let's talk about what we did here now, okay? So at the top half of this is going to be sky. So what I did was I put a little bit of cerulean blue and cobalt blue. Cobalt blue at the top. And as I came down, I put in a little bit of cerulean blue and added more water to the brush. Make it a little bit lighter at the bottom. Now, watercolor will dry a lot lighter when it dries. So you make sure you put a nice value as you put it in, so because as it dries, it's going to lighten up about 35%. You want to compensate for that when you put the watercolor down on paper. So it might look a little dry, it might look a little dark when it's wet, but when it dries, it's going to be much lighter. I'm drying this up now. I'm drying it down here so I can put that background in there. I'll test with the back of my hand. If it feels warm, it's dry. Okay. All right. Right, so there's that. Now, okay, I'm going to put this brush aside now. This is a number 1 inch. Now I'm going to go in and pick up, this is a 1/2 inch, this is a Holbein 1/2 inch flat. And I'm going to mix up, I'm going to do the mountains now, behind the trees in the background. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of, let me start with a dark color. I'm going to pick ultramarine blue, and I'll pick up my favorite burnt sienna. That'll turn it dark. Now I'm going to add some more colors in here. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of quinacridone violet. Put that in there. A little bit of quinacridone violet. And even pick up a little bit of hooker's green. So I'm going to have quite a mixture here of different colors. The background color is going to be dark, but I like a variety. I'll pick a little bit of Payne's gray because I want to make it even darker. Knock off some of the color there. So I'm going to have blue, I'm going to have green, browns, even a little bit of purple. So it's going to be quite a mixture here for darks. So I'll start out over here on the side now, over here. Now, okay, load the brush. This is a 1/2 inch Holbein flat brush, synthetic. And I'm going to go in here and put it, a nice dark mix here. And as I go back into the palette, I'm going to pick up another color because I want to keep the colors variable. Pick up a little more of that purple, quinacridone violet. I'll pick up some brown. That's a little bit of burnt sienna. So when this dries, you'll see the different colors as they pop out, and that's what I'm looking forward to. Paint on the edge of that tree. Now we'll go over here to this section and pick up another color and a little more purple in there, along with that blue, a little bit of blue. Get this section. So this will be the darkest, just like on my value study, my design study. This is the background dark behind these trees, and that'll make those birch trees really pop out. Get the dark against the light. Again, this looks dark now, but you know, again, it'll lighten up. So I'm gonna make sure I got plenty of paint in there. And I may go, before I leave, I may go back in and put just another layer in there to make sure it's nice and dark. I'll pick up some of that green now, mixed in with that brown. It'll give me a multicolor. Because those mountains back there have trees on top of them, so they'll have different colors, but they'll be dark. You really can't tell what color they are, but they're dark colors. We know there's foliage back there, so there's got to be trees and grass, rocks. Coming down here, and I'll finish this up here alongside the tree. Okay, all right, there's the nice darks. Now what I'm going to do before I leave though, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to go back in now with some more, I go ultramarine blue now. I'm going to go in, I'm going to add in some more color on top of that. Because I want to make sure that's really dark. And pick up a little bit of green here in this section. And a little bit of purple over here in this section. A little bit of brown over here in this section. So I got a multicolor across the background with all the colors I put on the palette, making sure it's nice and dark. Now I'll keep my eye on that too, because if it starts to lighten up on me, I'll even go back in and put some more, because I want that to be the contrast of the trees. Okay, all right. Let me dry that. That's going to be dark, but it's nice and wet. So let's go dry this section. So what I did here is a background trees. What I did, I mixed up multi colors of darks, starting with ultramarine blue. Added in a little bit of burnt sienna with that blue. I added in quinacridone violet. And added in a little bit of Payne's gray, the dark black. On top of that, just kind of gray it down a little bit. I even added in some Hooker's green, so it'll give me a nice dark color, and it will have different hues. When you look at it up close, you can see the different patches of color in there. And now I'm drying it out now, so I get on to the next step. So it's dried out, nice and dark. When I put that extra pigment on top, it will come out really nice and dark. Make sure it's nice and dry now. Okay, that'll set up that background. Okay, alright, now I'm going to put that brush away. And let me see, what I'm going to do now. What I'm going to do is pick up my that brush aside. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of brown and blue, so let me mix up a little puddle over here. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of ultramarine blue and mix in a little bit of burnt sienna. I'm going to get a nice little bluish gray. Bluish gray, that'll be the background snow. Snow is not, snow is not completely white. It's got whatever the color of the sky is, it's going to reflect the colors around it. So this little blue gray here will give me a nice color, and I want to. All right, so now I'm going to go in. I'm going to put in the background snow in front of that mountain. And I'm using a number 16 round Holbein. It's a synthetic brush, but it's a beautiful brush. It is a nice, good way to control. Now, as I come forward now, I'm going to lighten that up now because I'm going to have it darker in the background. But as I come forward, I want it to have a perspective. It gets a little bit lighter as it comes forward. It'll be darker there in the background, but a little bit lighter as I come forward. And I think what I'll do is put a little more darker in the back, just like that, because I want it to come down as a gradual. Now this section over here gets the same treatment. I get a little bit of, and keeping those trees white for right now. A little bit of water in the brush and come down, and this will be lighter as I come forward. And I want to hear put a little bit over top of my little snow mountain here, or my little snow hill, so I had to pick that up with a tissue. So that's I have a tissue in my hand all the time to pick up any wet paint or mop up a thing. This comes down here. Okay, and one more little section over here. So that's that background snow that's on the ground that's behind his trees. And they're far off in the distance, so I want to give a little bit of impression of depth here. So what I'll do is let me get a little more blue in the mix there. Just a little touch of blue now. I took ultramarine blue. Go back in here and put a little bit of blue back in there. Just give an idea that that's a little further away. The blue color pushes things back into a painting. To give a painting depth, you need blue in the background. A little bit of blue back there will push it back. Okay. All right. Tell me what I need to do now. I need to dry that. Let's see. My next stage. I'll work a little bit on the trees. All right, the next stage is going to be the trees. That's going to be the fun part. Let me get this dried so I can get the trees started. My paper covered. Okay. Okay, let me see. Hold that straight now. Okay, so I've got the background. I've got the background sky and the background mountain, and this little middle ground background. It's kind of the background. Yeah, maybe it's the middle ground. Middle ground snow. It's on the ground right here. It's coming up toward this lump of trees here, group of trees. So I got the middle ground in now. I got the background and the middle ground done. So now we're going to work on the foreground trees. Make sure that's nice and dry. Okay. Now you touch with the back of your hand, and if it feels warm, it's dry. Okay. So in order to make sure it's dry. Okay. Now let me show you a couple of things here. I'm going to bring over my test sheet. What I've got here now is I'm going to. Now before I do that, let me put a mixture on the trees. What I want to do on the trees, I'm going to put a shadow pattern on the. Let's see, the brush I want to use now is going to be the 3/4 inch. Okay, I'm going to use a 3/4 inch brush. Now I'm going to use that same gray that I put in the snow, a light gray, so I can use that mix right there. And I'm going to put, if you look at the photograph, there's a shadow pattern on the edge of these trees. So they're not pure white, but there is a white edge. The white edge is hitting the sunlight's coming in on the left side, so that'll stay white. So what I'll do now, I'll put a little bit of gray now on these trunks. So I'm going to start up here. Now I'm using a 3/4 inch. I'm using a 3/4 inch flat from Holbein, 3/4 inch flat. So now I'm going to go down. I'm going to put a shadow side of these tree trunks now. I'm putting the shadow side in. So I'm going to use this light gray. Go up here to this one here. This has got a little gray. This has got the gray side, and I'm going to leave. There's a little bit of sunlight hitting the left edge of the tree trunk. The right edge is in shadow, so that'll be gray. The right edge of the tree trunk. Okay. So now we're putting a little depth on the trees themselves. So as I come down here now, let me load the brush again. Nice light brown. This is the shadow of these birch trees are white. So this is the shadow side of the white birch tree. So the shadow side is going to be a gray. And I put a little bit of, use that same brown, gray mix I used on the snow, which is okay. The snow is white too, but there's also a reflection from the sky. Okay. All right, I'll let that dry a little bit. I got another one to put in. Now, here's one here. Get this tree, and this little birch tree here now has the same thing. It's got a little shadow. It's got a shadow, and shadow on the right side will be a little sunlight, a highlight on the left edge. So I'm going to come down on the right side here. Now I'm using the edge of the brush, using the edge, like I'm not painting flat. I'm painting on the edge, using the side of the brush, because this is a smaller tree trunk I'm going by. So I'm using the side of the brush to come down and paint that shadow edge in. Come on down. Okay. All right, and I got one more over here, and this also has a shadow. So we're painting the shadow now on the tree trunks. And I'm using that gray mix that I used on the snow in the background. A little bit of ultramarine blue mixed in with a little bit of burnt sienna. Gives me a nice gray. That's my gray mixture I use. That's my most popular gray mixture is burnt sienna, ultramarine blue. Because they are almost perfect complementaries. That when you mix two complementaries together, you're going to get a gray. And that's what I do. When I burnt sienna and the ultramarine blue gives me a nice. Okay. Now there's one other tree over I don't want to forget. And this tree here has two together. So there's a tree here that I'm going to put. This is nice because I'm going to have a an edge on this that's in shadow, but also got there's two tree trunks together here, one behind the other. So there's a tree behind this one. I'm going to paint the shadow pattern of the tree that's behind. Make sure I don't disturb the one that's in front. Okay, then up here, they're both in shadow on that side, so this would come together here. Okay, all right. Okay, what I'm going to do now is while that's drying, I'll let that dry by itself for a minute. I'm going to put a little bit of shadow pattern here on the snow here in the foreground. So I'm going to use that same gray mix, and I'm going to put in a little bit of texture in here, just to get on the ground, to get some shadow shapes. We have mounds of snow down here in this particular scene. So using that same gray mix now, I'm going to go in here and put in some shadow shapes, just to get started. And I'll put down just a little bit more in here. Okay, just kind of gave me a starting point there. Okay, all right. Now I'm going to put this brush down. All right, I'll use that one. Okay, now I'm going to let's talk about some technique now. I'm going to put this aside, let it dry out a little bit. Now, when I do a birch tree, I'm going to mix up the same dark mix we made for the actually the same mix we made for the background trees, which is burnt sienna, a little bit of ultramarine blue, maybe mixing even a little bit of the violet in there. So it's going to be a real great color. Now I'm going to use a palette knife. This is a small palette knife which has a little. You see, it's shaped like a diamond, but then it has a nice little shape to it. Okay, there's the front side of it, the flat side of it, and there's the edge of it. Okay, that's my palette knife. Okay, now what I do when I load a palette knife, what I'm going to do is go to my palette, and I'm going to use the number 16 round brush, load it up with paint, and then I'm going to go here at the bottom of I'm going to go and wet the bottom of the palette knife, and load it with paint. What that does, it kind of wets the metal on the back of that. Okay, bring it up real close so you can see it. I got paint on the bottom of that palette knife. All right, and I'll shake it down so I don't want to completely load it on, but just enough on the edge. So I got it right on the edge. Right on the edge of the palette knife. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to the. Now here's a drawing of the tree. Here's the edge of the tree right here. I just drew a pencil line right here. Okay, and what I'm going to do is put the palette knife down on the edge of that tree on this side, and I'm going to scrape it across with a real sharp line. Okay, and I'll go down and do maybe another one, a little lighter, a little smaller. Okay, so what I'm doing is that's giving me that edge. That's giving me that dark edge of the birch tree. Okay. Now here's another drawing over here. You see the pencil lines I have here? That's a tree trunk. So I go in here now, and what it is helps by putting the brush on here and loading the knife, it gets a lot more. And I shake it so I don't have too much on it, but I have enough on it. You can see it. You can see all that paint on that brush, on that palette knife. Now I go up here and I go this one. I'm going to hit it a little bit longer, and I can turn it. I can turn it using the edge of the knife and move that around. I can put in little pieces now. So I can put in the textures that I want. I come over to now come over here and put the knife right into the palette now, and pick it up. So I'll get a texture of the tree just by using the palette knife, scraping it across, and then I can use the tip of the knife and just do little touches to get little bumps and so forth. If you'll see you notice the tree here over, especially this one's got a lot of marks on it. A lot of bark has moved aside. Usually it's all white bark, but then it starts to peel off. And this one here has little bumps on it. Little dark marks are here. So you can see there's quite a variety of different marks. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do now. We're going to put a variety of marks on this particular part of the drawing. And what I did one down here, I did some down here as kind of a practice. Different marks on the trunks. Okay. Let me get a drink of water. All right, so I'm going to load up my knife, same way. I'm going to use my number 16 round. Load up, get a nice load of paint on there. And I'll shake it a little bit so I don't have it sopping wet. Now I'm going to go in here now and start putting some of these darks. I'm going to start at the bottom here on this one. I'm going to start at the very left edge of this tree. Put the knife down and scrape it across. And now I'm going to go up here, and now I'm going to put maybe one in this section here. I'm going to go to the edge of the tree. Now I'll use a tip of the blade, a tip of the palette knife, and I'm going to go in there and just kind of put in some marks. I can move the knife around, give different shapes. And I'm going to go up here and do one more up here in this section. There's a spot up here I want to get, this section in here. Oh, I load it again. I'll put a nice big bunch of paint on there. I'm going to shake off the excess. And go up here and put a nice chunk, put a nice drop right in there. Maybe some on this side over here. Okay. So I found it to be easier to do it by loading the brush using a brush. In this case, it's a big, large, round brush, and load the palette knife that way. You get enough to get plenty of paint on the brush, on the knife. Let's go up here. I'm going to get some up here. I'm going to turn this upside down. I go get some from the other side because there's some over here too. So I turn the painting upside down, get the other side. All right, so I'm going to move a little faster now and get these other trees in here. This one back here, I got to get some more on. Okay. Load the knife, make sure it's not too heavy. Wood stuff. This one I'll use the tip of the knife a little bit. This is a smaller tree, so I'll get a smaller marks on this one. A dark mix. Okay, I'll load it up again. So this is the technique I've discovered, and I think it works very well. And this last one over here, I'm going to put a lot on this one. So what I'm going to do, see, I'm going to kind of vary. I started this over here. I got it kind of small here, and over here I'm going to get a large grouping over here of different sizes. I'm shooting for different shapes. Loading up the brush. I'm using again a large brush. Lose the palette knife up. Shake off a little bit of the excess. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the, okay, those are the results so far. That's pretty much what I've done there as far as the trees going. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the round brush, load it up. Now I'm going to go in and do a little more detail now of some of these shapes. Just adding a little more emphasis here on some of these, and get some extra little marks in here with the pointer of the brush. And this one over here, a little bit more, especially on the edge where I have left the white paper. I want to get a little more definition there. Down here by the snow, I'm defining the edge here with the snow, where the snow and the tree meets, so it gives me a little more definition of the edge of the tree. This one over here, I want to put a little more emphasis on this one. again, I'm coming down here by the where the snow, the drifting snow against the edge of the tree, and this gives me a definition here of the edge of the tree and the snow. A little better shaping here. Okay. All right. So that's as far as I can go. You can spend a little more time on that, but that you get the idea of how to do that now. I use the combination of the palette knife with the brush, and then I use a little bit of brush tip to go in and add a little more definition on those marks. Okay, now I'm going to take one more brush. I've used 4 brushes so far. I'll use one more brush, and that's the liner. You'll see here in my reference here, you'll see a lot of small trees here in the background, which I'm going to put in. I think that makes it more interesting. So to finish off this painting now, I'm going to put in, let me mix up some more paints here. So these will kind of be dark trees, so I can use my old standard old mixture of, I can put a little bit of ultramarine blue, a little bit of burnt sienna, a touch of quinacridone violet, maybe even a little bit of green, but a nice dark, and maybe a touch of Payne's gray. But it's going to be a dark mix, is what it is, a dark mix. Okay, with it now, this is a number 4. This is a Holbein number 4 rigger. Now this is got the nice long hairs to it, and the rigger brush. This is used for painting, draw long lines in. I'll start down here at the bottom, and as I lift the brush up, I get a nice little taper to the tree. And I'll put another one over here. I'm starting down here at the bottom, and as I come up, I'm lifting, take a little pressure off the brush, get that nice taper. And I'm going to put some branches on these little trees. There's a big branch here on this one birch tree right here. These are all small birch trees in the background, but I'm not going to define those. I'm just going to put these shapes in. Put them in silhouette. And put another couple in here. So I'm going to come in, make this, and as I lift the pressure off the brush, it gets a little bit thinner at the top. And we'll put another one in here. Put some branches out here, some branches. Okay, sorry. Okay, put another one in here. The branch that comes off this one birch tree here, I'll put that in the background. Sorry about my head. I'm leaning over to get the angle I want, and my head will get in the middle of the camera. I'll put one more. I think you get the idea here. I'm putting background trees. You can put as many of these in here as you want. There's quite a few here in the photograph. I'm just putting enough in here to kind of finish off the design here a little bit. Now I'm going to go ahead and just make some wild branches. They're way behind, and there's even more trees up behind here. Okay, background trees. And what I'll do now, see that's 4. I've used 5 brushes. I'll use one more. And this is a bristle brush. You can buy these in any hardware store, but it comes in very handy. What I do is I take some of this paint I have here on the palette, and if you'll notice, there's some small branches and also maybe some leaves that are on these background trees and little middle ground trees. So I'm going to put that in there, just kind of break up some of that, give a little texture in here. That helps fill in some of the, it gives you a little more definition of the background. These can be you can interpret these as small branches or little twigs that are behind there on those other trees. You can still see the sky, you can still see the trees here in the foreground. That's all I'm going to be concerned about. And I can take one more load here with this rigger brush, and I can put some. There's some small, little tall leaves down, or little branches, little bushes down here that are at the base, in the background of this snow mound. We'll break that up. Okay, I think now the last thing I want to add on here is the shadow pattern a little bit. So now I need a little bit darker little ultramarine blue, and a touch of ultramarine, a little bit of a quinacridone violet. I want the shadow should have just a little bit of purple in it. Well, I like to make mine just a little bit more purple in my shadows. Not too much. Now knock that down with a little bit of Payne's Gray. And let's see, I'll take it over and I'll test it out. Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a little bit of a little darker mix in here. And these are the darker shadows in the snow. Little snow mound here at the base of this of these trees. And for snow, you want to make it kind of like a smooth, try to make a smooth texture here, or a smooth mark, not make it too rough. Because snow is round. There's not too many sharp corners, except if it was on top of something. Now this is going to have a little shadow pattern. Now they got shadows coming from the trees themselves. And the branches. This tree here is going to have a nice dark shadow in here. just going to go across the background or middle ground there. Okay, all right. And we can add as many shadows as you want to also in that particular painting there. Okay. Smooth out some of this texture. Okay, let's put a mat board around this. Let's put a mat board around it. Okay, well there's the reference photograph I used. I've got the shadow patterns in there, and I got the trees, a little bit of the middle ground trees. You see all those branches in there all over the place. Okay, so that those gives you a little more detail. All right, then let's put a blue mat around this. And what I can do is lift this up on put this up on a board. And we'll put a mat around it. And you see part of this. And bring it up a little bit. Okay. Straighten up. Okay. That's my birch trees in the snow. And I think I really like that. Something I really want to do today. I want to do a snow scene, and you can see here I got the shadow pattern along the edge of the birch trees, and I used the palette knife. Use the palette knife to do a little scraping there on the edge of the tree to give me that shape I wanted, and I think it turned out very effective. Okay, let's go to back to my main camera. Okay. Well, I guess there was a couple of good things happened today. My broadcast, it looked like it went smooth today. I've had a little problems the last couple times, but there weren't any errors I could find today. We'll have give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Give me any questions you have or any comments. I would appreciate those. It helps my rating also. I think the birch trees are one of my favorite trees to paint. Besides, I love all kinds of trees, but I love to paint birch trees. Number one, they're pretty easy. They're white, but then you turn the shadow pattern, and I love to put that little texture on the bark that you see on every birch tree that you see, especially in the wintertime when the snow is on the ground. So I enjoyed doing that, and I hope that gives you a little, maybe a holiday season look into the colder weather coming up. Winter will be here next week, and then Christmas. So you all have a happy holiday, and Merry Christmas to everyone. I'll be back next Thursday with a little demonstration. I haven't figured out what I'll do. Maybe something real simple. Maybe flowers or something like that. I'll decide. And then I'll be on this tonight at 7:30 p.m. with Simply Drawing with Everett. And I got another interesting drawing to do there. So you can join me at 7:30 p.m. this evening, Eastern Standard Time. And then I'll be back next week, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Everetts Watercolors. And on the weekend I'll do Anyone Can Draw with one line only. It comes out on Sunday. And I hope you all enjoyed it. I've had quite a few people looking in on that. So until next week, You all stay safe. Please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. It helps in my rating. And until then, you all stay safe and stay warm. And have a happy holiday. And we'll see you next week on the next live video. So bye.